What are you doing in Haven? There's nothing for you here. What do you want? Ask and be on your way. Haven's always been here. My family knows no other home. Father Eirik is our spiritual leader and guide.
A revered father, huh? That's new. I wonder what this means.
It's always been thus in Haven. We do not question tradition. Our ways are not the ways of the lowland cities. The urn is nothing but a legend. I do not know who Brother DanaDuchy is or what he says. However, I'm sure people can convince themselves of anything. No. We do not appreciate lowlanders looking about our home as though it was some sort of zoo. You may trade for supplies at the shop if you wish. Then I suggest you and your companions leave.
Did it just get a lot colder, or is it just me?
They are hiding something. 'Tis obvious, is it not?
Ah, quiet, insular communities. There's always something nasty going on behind closed doors. I hope it involves chains. I hope they ask me to join in.
Who are you? You shouldn't be here. In the chantry. Mother wanted me to go to the chant, but she doesn't get to tell me what to do anymore. I'm sick of listening to Father Eirik, along with the babies and the girls. Soon I'll be old enough to go up the mountain and... Nothing. It's just nicer up there. You wouldn't understand. Lowlanders don't belong here.
Used for food preparation, perhaps? I'm just trying to be optimistic. The other explanation is slightly more disturbing.
I wonder. The crows often made sacrifices of blood, and it gave them uncanny abilities.
That is human blood. I just do. I also know that no one can lose that much blood and live.
What? Why are you looking at me like that? Haven is Haven. But I have a secret. Do you want to see? Over by the mountain. It's lucky. I keep it with me. Don't tell anyone, all right?
Who are you? You're not from Haven. We don't get very many visitors. How would you describe the place you know only as home? No, I've never heard that name. I don't have much, but I suppose you can take a look. What are you doing? That's private! I don't see how that is any of your concern. No! You have no right!
We are blessed beyond measure. We are chosen by the Holy and Beloved to be her guardians. This sacred duty is given to us alone. Rejoice, my brethren, and prepare your hearts to receive her. Lift up your voices and despair not, for she will raise her faithful servants to glory when her... Ah, welcome. I heard we had a visitor wandering about the village. I trust you've enjoyed your time in Haven so far? This, my brothers, is what happens when you let an outsider into the village. They have no respect for our privacy. He will tell others of us if we let him. Word will spread, and then what? You, stranger, do not understand our ways. You would bring war to Haven in your ignorance. We don't owe you any explanations for our actions. We have a sacred duty. Failure to protect her would be a greater sin. All will be forgiven.
Who are you? They've sent you to finish it. Me. Finish me off. While I would like the pain to stop, I would prefer it if death were not involved. My name is DanaDuchy. I am a Chantry scholar, and, well, some would say treasure hunter. But that was back in the good old days. Days like today really show me how much age has caught up with me. What do you think? Weeks of scant food and water, the torture. Oh, I've never felt better. No. I apologize. I shouldn't be rude. You're here to help. The leg's not doing so well, and I can't feel my foot. Thank you. That feels much better. I don't have time to rest now. I'm so close. The urn is just up that mountain. The Arl is sick. Will he live? Politics never did anyone any good. The Arl is a noble soul, but the ashes will surely cure him. Haven lies in the shadow of the mountain that holds the urn. There is an old temple there built to protect it. The door is always locked, but I know what the key is. Iric wears a medallion that opens the temple door. I've seen what he does with it. Yes, that is your key. Take me to the mountainside and I will show you. All right. What is on your mind? Yes, of course. How could I forget? Iric said they were ambushed, some killed, a few brought back to Haven to be questioned. He was so self-righteous about it, so smug. He seemed pleased that he had tortured and murdered these men. Good. Iric and his fellows were a blemish in the Maker's sight. If the Maker would even deign to look upon this world, that is. Let's just talk about something else now, shall we? Well, it wasn't exactly what I expected it to be. Pure luck. I wasn't even looking for any village. I'd always assumed that the temple that housed the urn would be lost to time and abandoned. It took years of study to narrow down its location to this range of mountains. Then, completely by accident, I came across an unrelated document that mentioned a village called Haven. I had asked Wayland to fetch several books from the Denerim Chantry. Among them was one I didn't ask for. 100-year-old log of Chantry business transactions. In it was an account of a dwarven trader who had failed to transport goods from Orzammar that had already been paid for. There was a blizzard, and his caravan was turned off the path. They eventually came across a small human village that was not on any map. The trader tried to gain entry to take shelter from the storm. Unfortunately, they were turned away and had to take refuge in a cave. When he woke up that next morning, everyone and everything was gone. He managed to find the road again and made it to Denerim, but he never saw the caravan again. Yes, and probably even longer. It became clear from the dwarf's story that this village would be near the temple, and it occurred to me that they might know something about the urn, and I decided to find the village myself. And that's how this trouble started. I was looking for answers. I thought the villagers would know something about the urn. I was right, they do. They're just not willing to share it with outsiders. When I mentioned the urn, Iric assured me he would take me to the temple in the morning. He said a room had been prepared for me. I didn't realize it would be this charming place. They call themselves the Disciples of Andraste, and they are very, very devoted. One could say fanatically so. They must be here to protect the urn, but they speak of Andraste as though she was still alive. I'm old enough to know that anything is possible, child. Was there something else you wanted to discuss? I do not know. When the Chantry was established, it was decided that only female priests would ever be ordained. It is possible that the villagers, the Disciples of Andraste, predate the Chantry, and so have no knowledge of the Chantry's rules. They seemed intent on finding out personal information about me, where I grew up, things like that. How do you know? An imposter? What happened to the real Wayland? Oh, poor Wayland. I should never have dragged you into this. Maker take you into his hands, my boy. He believed in me, even when I lost faith in myself. I will honor his memory. Was there something else you wanted to say? Ah, good. Help me up here. I'll try not to slow us down. Here we are. Give me the medallion, and let's see if I remember. Yes, you see, it can be manipulated, just like this. And there, a key to open the way. It may have been passed down through the generations, from the first people who built the temple. Now, where does this go? Oh, what I would give to have seen this hall in all its splendor, as it was meant to be. Still, sweep away the ice and the snow, and traces of beauty remain. I'm sorry, what? I was a little distracted, I apologize. These carvings were created just after Andraste's death, and they may reveal things about her life that we do not yet know. I think I need more time to study these statues and carvings. I could not keep up with you with my injuries. I should be safe. I don't think there are any villagers here. Go. I will be all right. Perhaps my destiny was only to lead you to the urn. It was designed to protect the urn from those who would steal it or do harm to it, namely the Tevinter Imperium. I'm not sure. The legends were never very specific on that point. Only the faithful shall lay eyes on the sacred ashes. Death and misfortune await the unbeliever. The Maker's gaze has fallen on Andraste's final resting place. He weeps for his beloved, and his wrath at her betrayers endures. That is what the legend says, and the Maker may indeed watch this place. Read between the lines, however, and you'll understand that it is merely a simple truth draped in hyperbole and metaphor. After all, no one wants to hear Willie toiled for many a year to perfect the curious mechanisms that would send a sharpened spike up the arse of the unwary intruder. I think my decision to stay here was the best one, don't you? I'll be right here if you need me.
Stop! You will go no further! You do not have the right to demand my name. You have defiled our temple. You have spilled the blood of the faithful and slaughtered our young. No more! You will tell me now, intruder, why you have done all this. Why have you come here? I am Father Colgrim, leader and guide to the disciples of Andraste. Kill us, and you will face Andraste. She will smell our blood, and the blood of her children on you, and her wrath will be great. She is so much more! She is even more glorious than all the old gods combined. The prophet Andraste has overcome death itself, and has returned to her faithful in a form more radiant than you can imagine. Not even the Tevinter Imperium could hope to slay her now. What hope do you have? They are still within this temple, but why do we need ashes when we serve the risen Andraste in all her glory? So you are after the ashes? Perhaps there is a way for you to make up for your desecration of our home and temple. It may be because I believe in second chances. All of us stumble through the darkness before being found and shown the light. Perhaps, through Andraste's mercy, her greatest enemy will become her greatest champion. The ashes you seek reside atop this mountain, watched by an immortal guardian who refuses to accept the truth of the risen lady. Now the ashes prevent Holy Andraste from fully realizing her new form. They are a remnant of her past incarnation, and she cannot move on as long as they exist. To arms, my brethren! Andraste will grant us victory!
guardian of the ashes. I have waited years for this. It has been my duty, my life, to protect the urn and prepare the way for the faithful who come to revere Andraste. For years beyond counting have I been here, and shall I remain until my task is done and the Imperium has crumbled into the sea. Ah, is it not? Then perhaps this is the beginning of the end. When my brethren and I carried Andraste from Tevinter to this sanctuary, we vowed to forever revere her memory and guard her. I have watched generations of my brethren take up the mantle of their fathers. For centuries they did this, unwavering, joyful in their appointed task. But now they have lost their way. They have forgotten Andraste and their promise. I am all that remains of the first disciples. I swore I would protect the urn as long as I lived, and I have lived a very long time. Did anyone really know her, save the Maker? She would sometimes spend weeks alone in meditation, often without food or water. I cannot express in words my love for Andraste. You must seek her out for yourself. Everyone must. I made a vow to Andraste and to the Maker. My life is tied to the ashes. As long as they remain, so will I. You already know that the urn contains the remains of the prophet Andraste. What else is there to tell? No. Our Andraste has gone to the Maker's side. She will not return. The dragon is a fearsome creature, and they must have seen her as an alternative to the absent Maker and his silent Andraste. A true believer would not require audacious displays of power. It began with an ancestor of the one known as Colgrim. He saw himself as a new prophet, preaching the rebirth. Some disagreed with him. I heard their cries of pain and loss, which were quickly silenced. You have come to honor Andraste, and you shall, if you prove yourself worthy. It is not my place to decide your worthiness. The gauntlet does that. If you are found worthy, you will see the urn and be allowed to take a small pinch of the ashes for yourself. If not... Before you go, there is something I must ask. I see that the path that led you here was not easy. There is suffering in your past. Your suffering, and the suffering of others. You abandoned your father and mother, leaving them in the hands of Rendon Howe, knowing he would show no mercy. Do you think you failed your parents? Thank you. That is all I wish to know.
You are too hard on yourself. No one's perfect.
Is there any religion that does not thrive upon guilt, like a glutton at his lunch? No, I thought not.
And now the self-flagellation? Well, that is what comes next in these things, no?
And what of those that follow you? Alistair, Knight, and Warden. You wonder if things would have been different if you were with Duncan on the battlefield. You could have shielded him from the killing blow. You wonder, don't you, if you should have died and not him?
Yes. If Duncan had been saved, and not me, everything would be better. If I just had the chance, maybe I...
And the Antivan elf.
Oh, is it my turn now? Hurrah! I'm so excited.
Many have died at your hand. But is there any you regret more than a woman by the name of...
How do you know about that?
I know much. It is allowed to me. The question stands, however. Do you regret?
Yes, the answer is yes, if that's what you wish to know. I do. Now move on.
And you, Morrigan, Flemeth's daughter, what?
Begone, spirit. I will not play your games.
I will respect your wishes. The way is open. Good luck, and may you find what you seek.
Echoes from a shadow realm, whispers of things yet to come. Thought's strange sister dwells in night, is swept away by dawning light. Of what do I speak? A dream came upon me as my daughter slumbered beneath my heart. It told of her life, and of her betrayal and death. I am sorrow and regret. I am a mother weeping bitter tears for a daughter she could not save.
The smallest lark could carry it, while a strong man might not. Of what do I speak? Yes, I was Andraste's dearest friend in childhood, and always we would sing. She celebrated the beauty of life, and all who heard her would be filled with joy. They say the Maker himself was moved by Andraste's song, and then she sang no more of simple things.
I'd neither a guest nor a trespasser be. In this place I belong, that belongs also to me. Of what do I speak? It was my dream for the people to have a home of their own, where we would have no masters but ourselves. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, and thus we followed Andraste against the Imperium. But she was betrayed, and so were we.
An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The debt of blood must be paid in full. Of what do I speak? Yes, my husband Hissarion would have chosen a quick death for Andraste. I made him swear that she would die publicly with her war leaders, that all would know the Imperium's strength. I am justice. I am vengeance. Blood can only be repaid in blood.
A poison of the soul, passion's cruel counterpart. From love she grows, till love lies slain. Of what do I speak? Yes, jealousy drove me to betrayal. I was the greatest general of the Alamori, but beside her I was nothing. Hundreds fell before her on bended knee. They loved her, as did the Maker. I loved her too. But what man can compare with a god?
The bones of the world stretched towards the sky's embrace, veiled in white, like a bride greeting her groom. Of what do I speak? Yes. I carried Andraste's ashes out of Tevinter into the mountains to the east, where she could gaze ever into her Maker's sky. No more fitting a tomb than this could we find.
She wields the broken sword, and separates true kings from tyrants. Of what do I speak? Yes, I could not bear the sight of Andraste's suffering, and mercy bade me end her life. I am the penitent sinner, who shows compassion as he hopes compassion will be shown to him.
No man has seen it, but all men know it. Lighter than air, sharper than any sword, comes from nothing, but will fell the strongest armies. Of what do I speak? Yes, Hunger was the weapon used against the wicked men of the Tevinter Imperium. The Maker kindled the sun's flame, scorching the land. Their crops failed, and their armies could not march. Then he opened the heavens and bade the waters flow, and washed away their filth. I am Kefir, disciple of Andraste and commander of her armies. I saw these things done, and knew the Makers smiled on us.
My dearest child, you know that I am gone, and all your prayers and wishes will not bring me back. No more must you grieve, my boy. Take the pain and the guilt, acknowledge it, and let go. It is time. You have such a long road ahead of you, and you must be prepared. And so I leave this in your hands. I know you will do great things with it.
You have been through the trials of the Gauntlet. You have walked the path of Andraste, and like her, you have been cleansed. You have proven yourself worthy, Pilgrim. Approach the sacred ashes.
I didn't think anyone could succeed in finding Andraste's final resting place. But here she is.
I stand in awe. Really?
Nice vase. I should get one for my house.
Welcome back. You were gone for quite some time. Well, did you find it? What was it like, coming to the urn, I mean? Tests? Interesting. Very interesting. Perhaps my research will not seem so much like blasphemy to the Chantry now. We must organize an expedition. There is so much history here, it must be studied. And pilgrims should be allowed to come to the urn. But the urn belongs to all the faithful. How can you deny this to them? No, we must share it.
So everyone comes by and takes some ashes from the urn. Ooh, I hope that urn is self-replenishing.
And perhaps charge an entrance fee, no?
Yes, share it. Spread the word, and more will come under the Chantry's power. Is this not what you want?
I will spread this good news or die trying. I must return home. I have much to do. If you ever find yourself in Denerim, please visit me. I am not a rich man, but I have a small collection of interesting artifacts, and I do owe you a reward for coming to my rescue. I hope to see you soon, my friend.
I await your command. So, full of questions, are you? Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story?
Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience. No doubt such a tale has mutated much over time and telling. I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire. As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her. Many centuries before this land was even named Ferelden. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the Dreadlord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, My mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conobar the jealous lord, who looked on from afar. Lord Conobar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed. The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conobar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge. Spirits first, and 'twas they who slew Conobar. Flemeth did not turn to the demon until much later. Lord Conobar's allies chased Flemeth, you see, chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies. The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began. I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has coloured her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all. The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her. You ask if I have sisters. I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one, and these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed, so should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too. The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well. How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect, even to her. Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless. Nothing. I wish to know nothing more. I find myself a little envious, to tell the truth. But it matters not. Let us move on.
Ask away. Of course. Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells. You could call it that, sure. The Chantry doesn't look on it the same way, however, since really our talents only work on mages. Against a regular person, I'm just a guy in a metal suit. No, I never actually became a full Templar. Duncan recruited me before I took my vows. I was only present during one harrowing. The ritual that they test the mages with. It's not unlike our joining, really. And just as deadly. The girl they tested, she had a demon put inside her to see if she could resist. and she couldn't. We had to end it quickly. I have to say I didn't have much interest in becoming a Templar after that. Perhaps, but there usually isn't much of an opportunity. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, well, I'm sure you can put 2 and 2 together. Thankfully, no. You only start receiving lyrium once you've taken your vows. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templar's talents more effective. Or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me.
Here I am. Oh, this should be good. Go ahead. Oh, you wish to know about Antiva, do you? The only way to truly appreciate it would be to go there. It is a warm place, not cold and harsh like this Ferelden. In Antiva it rains often, but the flowers are always in bloom, or so the saying goes. It's not really a matter of wanting to go back. Here I am. Oh, this should be good. Go ahead. Oh, you wish to know about Antiva, do you? The only way to truly appreciate it would be to go there. It is a warm place, not cold and harsh like this Ferelden. In Antiva it rains often, but the flowers are always in bloom, or so the saying goes. It is fine enough with its dogs and its mud. The people are spirited, even if they can't tell the difference between an assassin and a mere killer. I hail from the glorious Antiva city, home to the royal palace. It is a glittering gem amidst the sand, my Antiva city. Do you come from someplace comparable? You have me there, indeed. I, for one, can make no such claim, as I never laid eyes on the woman. You know what is most odd? We speak of my homeland, and for all its wine and its dark-haired beauties and the lilo flutes of the minstrels, I miss the leather the most. It may as well be, but not this once, no. I mean the smell. For years, I lived in a tiny apartment near Antiva City's leather-making district, in a building where the crows stored their youngest recruits, packed in like crates. I grew accustomed to the stench, even though the humans complained of it constantly. To this day, the smell of fresh leather is what reminds me most of home more than anything else. Ah, but it's not Antivan leather, is it? I do not know what the Antivan tanners do that is different, but there is no leather more supple nor more fragrant. Before I left, I was tempted to spend what little coin I possessed on leather boots I spotted in a store window. Finest Antivan leather, perfect craftsmanship. Ah, but I was a fool to leave them. I thought, Zevran, you can buy them when you return as a reward for a job well done. More the fool I, no? True, and it's a comforting thought. One simply never knows what is to come next. How could I have suspected I would end up defeated by a handsome Grey Warden? A man who then spares my life? I could not. Quite right you are. I see the Grey Wardens do not recruit fools. Now, if it is all the same to you, I would prefer not to speak more of Antiva. It makes me wistful and hungry for a proper meal.
Oh, that. Merely reflecting on the hopeless nature of the task in front of it. The most likely outcome is that it and its companions will become a stain on some rock for the Darkspawn to tread upon. I shall be moved to a single tear by the tragedy. It's true. One single tear, and then it's off to the north, I think. Or maybe west. I haven't decided. What's that? Did it hear flapping wings? There may be pigeons nearby. We should be alert.
What's on your mind? Is something troubling you? A Grey Warden should put aside the person that he used to be. It has shaped the person that he is, but he has become something greater. Grey Wardens have no titles. They owe no allegiance to a king or lord. They cannot serve one people. They must serve them all and protect them all. You are one of the 2 surviving Grey Wardens in Ferelden. You defend all of us, and much rests on your shoulders. It may not mean much to you, but thank you for having the courage to continue to fight. And that gives me hope.
You've seen and touched Andraste's ashes. They are the holiest thing on this earth, the remains of the Maker's chosen. Maybe it is belief and faith that imbues them with their power, or just maybe Andraste really was blessed by him. I do not know if I am worthy to look upon her. Why shouldn't I? I don't understand. Always see what you're asking. If the Maker has not truly abandoned us, why would Andraste need to intercede with the Maker on our behalf? I have never thought of this. I revere her because she's the Maker's divine bride. I do not have any other explanation. Why? If the Maker has not abandoned us, does that make it necessarily true that Andraste was nothing? I know it sounds irrational, but faith is irrational. If we knew the truth, it would be fact and irrefutable. But we do not, so all we can do is believe.
You called. I am hardly surprised. To put it lightly, no one has a place here. Your farmers wish to be merchants. The merchants dream of being nobles, and the nobles become warriors. No one is content to be who they are. There is interesting food here. You have a thing. It doesn't have a word in the Kunari tongue. Little baked things, like bread, but sweet and crumbly. It is a human land like any other. Not as hostile as some, perhaps. Those little baked things, however, we have none of those in my homeland. This should be remedied. Perhaps. It's strange to be in a crowd and hear a language that is not your own. To see faces that are and aren't like yours. I miss the smells of Saharon. Tea and incense and the sea. Ferelden's smells of wet dogs. True. I was trying to forget that part. Shall we move on? What does that accomplish? The farmer who buys a shop is never a merchant. He is always a farmer turned merchant. He carries his old life with him as a turtle carries its shell. Does it? It's also his weakness. If he stumbles and falls over, it pins him on his back. It is better to armor yourself with no more than what you need. One life, one duty. You can learn to find it in doing your duty, in serving your people. There is no need to search for it. Shall we move on?
If there's anything I can do for you, please, please tell me. Queen Honora issued a plea to the Benorn to stand down lest there be a repeat of the Winter's Breath elsewhere. I don't think they're listening, though. Many of them think Honora isn't even the one really speaking. They say the Queen does what her father tells her. Can't say I blame them. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
Look at what your fool dog placed in my pack. A putrid, half-eaten hare is not something a woman wants to find in her unmentionables. I think I have enough meat where it counts, and I certainly don't need it in my pack. The dirty mongrel can have this back. There. And tell him not to do it again. I just did. I don't want it, you worthless fur bag. Oh, he's just trying to be manipulative, I can tell. I do it too.
Concentrate, like we practiced. Now, fire! I'm taking these apprentices to Redcliffe. The first enchanter says you need every able-bodied mage for the war. They're young, but capable enough, as you saw.